My name is Dr. Aaron R. Gearhart, and I'm an assistant professor of elementary education at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia. My family of four has had a very interesting, at times tumultuous journey during 2020 amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. We've had a lot of highs and some lows, and it's directly impacted my empathy for my students that I work with and subsequently the way I design my instruction. Let's start the story back in January. So my then expecting wife, my 3-year-old, and I were living in Illinois. I was working as a third grade teacher and adjunct professor while finishing my doctoral degree. I accepted my current job here at Columbus State, and we flew through Atlanta in late January to begin looking at houses in the Chattahoochee Valley area. Then in February, I successfully defended my dissertation. I left Illinois State University's campus that day, noting to my wife that we would return one more time in early May for the commencement ceremony, but alas, that was not to be. In late February and early March, we began hearing about the spread of some virus. Noses to the grindstone, we continued our virtual house hunting and final preparations for welcoming a new member of our family. We listed our house, and it sold in 8 days, with the buyers agreeing to close on the deal at the conclusion of the school year. Our second daughter was born on March 13th. The threat of the virus was becoming more and more apparent as the hospital would not allow her big sister to come in and meet her that day. During the afternoon on the day our new little girl was born, my wife, an elementary music teacher who worked at the same school as me, and I both received calls from our district informing us of the impending closure of our buildings in alignment with state mandates from Governor Pritzker down in Springfield. My mom stayed at our house with our oldest daughter until we returned home from the hospital with her new little sister. She was the only grandparent to meet our new little girl until almost the beginning of summer. I had arranged in advance for a short paternity leave of absence in advance of the quarantine and tried to enjoy my time with my family amidst the stress of the pandemic and all of the uncertainty as we planned to uproot our family and move literally across the country away from our extended families and everything familiar. Upon returning to work, I became familiar with the supplemental education packets that grade levels had prepared and sent home with our students. I tried to personalize the experience as much as possible, doing asynchronous weekly class check-in discussions on Flipgrid and emailing with families very often. For students who expressed interest in continuing their interest-based online research work that we had been doing in the classroom, I facilitated those efforts at home. Students posted findings and designed web pages on Google Sites to share what they were exploring during their learning time at home. I picked up my classroom in April for the first time ever, doing it that early, and in May we said our goodbyes via email, phone, and the U.S. mail. The movers loaded up all of our possessions in a truck to store for a month while our new home in Georgia was being renovated. We lavished the time spent with both sides of our family in the Midwest prior to making the drive to the Southeast at the beginning of July. In humidity and accents, both of which were thicker than we were accustomed to, we got settled in our new home while still remaining in relative quarantine and isolation. The adjustment was hard. Our girls started at a new daycare educational center. My wife started a new music teaching gig. I began my work here at Columbus State. In the weeks and days leading up to the beginning of the semester, the forms of student attendance and participation in my elementary ed science methods course evolved quite a bit. Ultimately, I had 75% of the students set to attend face-to-face, adhering to university policy by sitting 6 feet apart, wearing facial coverings. The other 25% participated virtually. Some were able to log on and participate live during course meetings using an app called Collaborate Ultra. Those whose current situation did not allow for them to attend live watched the recordings of course meetings and participated virtually. It was important to me that all my students developed pedagogical content knowledge around effectively teaching elementary science, regardless of their mode of attendance and participation. I felt that this was the equitable way to go. I designed learning tasks that pushed each student, regardless of how they were attending, to engage in active learning, critical thinking, much like the science teaching principles I was espousing in the course. We engaged in socially distanced virtual science labs, created Google Maps about Georgia's geologic regions, and design science fair projects that we presented in a virtual forum. It was critical that if I was to emphasize and promote constructivist elementary science instruction, in which our young learners are actively doing science rather than passively learning knowledge only, that I, in turn, had to have my students doing science also, developing pedagogical awareness and connections along the way. We viewed case videos of elementary science instruction and critiqued them through lenses refined by the course themes or topics of the day, such as constructivism, interdisciplinary science teaching, guided inquiry, etc. The students convened asynchronously each week to share their new insights and field experiences through reflective posts on our course blog or through a virtual Google chat room. Students engaged with and supported each other in constructing new knowledge around elementary science instruction through these posts and chats, commenting and replying on what each person had shared. This brought all learners together regardless of how they attended class. My unique and at times stressful experiences during the initial months of the ongoing pandemic significantly informed my work as a teacher educator this fall and beyond. I try to incorporate a mindset of trauma-informed pedagogy, as we're all going through different struggles and overcoming a myriad of barriers as a result of the effects of the pandemic or otherwise. This is what we primarily discussed during our first course meeting, not elementary science teaching. We need to give ourselves and our students a little bit of grace, understanding, patience, and most importantly, love. With that said, we also shouldn't continue to apologize for the pandemic. I believe we can still design and implement effective and equitable instruction, and this goes from kindergarten all the way up to higher education. Digital technologies will no doubt play a significant role in that process, mediating the work we do with and for our students. However, it is critical pedagogy and transformative teaching that will make all the difference.